So let's move to another team in the East. Detroit Red Wings had low-key a very good day yesterday. Not only, like, prior to free agency, they traded a third-round pick for Ville Husso, who signed yesterday. Or it might have been this morning, one of the two. They signed Andrew Copp. They signed David Perron. They signed Ben Chiarot. They signed Dominik Kubalik. And they drafted Marco Kasper, 8 overall last week. So you got Ville Husso, Andrew Copp, David Perron, Ben Chiarot, and Dominik Kubalik. That's a pretty good haul.
To go alongside, just in the forward group, Lucas Raymond, Dylan Larkin, Philip Zadina, Tyler Bertuzzi. There are still very good players there. And look, we both know how good Andrew Copp is, man.
Yes.
You know, he's going to be a great addition for them. Yeah, he's not playing next to Perron. He's still a top 6 forward. And he's going to be extremely valuable for the next 5 years for the Red Wings. But we shouldn't sit here and be surprised, Shades, because it's Stevie Y. It's just
exactly.
Yeah.
No,
and
Steve
Ben
Yzerman.
Chiarot. Yeah. Continue.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but I was going to say Ben Chiarot's a good signing too. You know, maybe is he overpaid a little bit, $4.5 million a season. But hey, Ben Chiarot and Moritz Seider, that could work. That could work as a first pair. So
yeah, I mean, Ben Chiarot, Moritz Seider. Who else do they got?
Got Joe Veleno up front too. They got Philip Hronek on the back end as well.
Yeah, dude, Hronek is a decent defenseman.
He is.
Yeah, they signed Oli Mata too. That's another depth guy.
Again, solid signing. Yeah.
Yeah, and plus they also signed. Oh no, they traded for Oscar Sundqvist. Was that this year or last year?
Sundqvist was last year.
Hey, they have
and Jacob Vrana. I didn't even mention
that was from last year too. I mean, dude, like we said, Husso they got. They also have Nedeljkovic in goal. That's a decent tandem. I would take that tandem over a lot of current tandems in the NHL. And look at the. You can talk. I'll get back to my point in a second.
I was just going to talk about the Jacob Vrana deal because it's underrated about how bad of a trade that was for the Washington Capitals. I don't know if you remember the specifics of the deal.
Oh yeah,
but it was Vrana for Anthony Mantha and the first round pick. So so they got Vrana and a first round pick in exchange for Anthony Mantha, and the Capitals have gone 2 straight years getting knocked out of the first round of the playoffs. Anthony Mantha is not an impact player anymore, and Jacob Vrana, you could argue he's their first line left wing. So I thought that was a dumb trade. And it's a classic Stevie Y fleece right there.
Yeah, I remember during my fantasy draft last year, my buddy picks up Vrana, and I'm just like, you bastard.
Thought you had him under wraps, huh?
He gets he slipped, but he was still like taken kind of early. But I'm just like, you bastard.
I have a breaking news on a contract.
Oh,
Josh Norris has signed for 8 years, $63 million, 7.95 average annual value. I love Norris, one of the best power play producers.
I don't hate it.
It's a little bit of an overpayment right now. That's a good deal. Again, so you can take $7 million per season out of that $20 million. So maybe Klingberg is a little bit tougher to fit in at this juncture.
I wouldn't be too surprised if they get that job done. But hey, also just to go back to Detroit since we're on them. I mean, great signing for Ottawa though. A defensive prospect that we forgot to mention, Simon Edvinsson.
Oh yes, Simon Edvinsson. That's with the Detroit, correct?
Oh yeah,
so that's a good one.
So they have Edvinsson, who is their best defensive prospect. They already have Seider. They just signed Chiarot. They still have Hronek. They signed Oli Mata. That's not a terrible crop of defensemen.
And they have Jordan Osterley as well, who came over.
Yes.
He previously spent time with Arizona. Gustav Lindstrom, who they really like a lot. They think he's going to be the next big Lidstrom in maybe not spelled the same, but sounds the same. Big,
Just
rich
just wiggle an
defenseman.
N in there.
Just wiggling in there, right? And this is what their depth chart looks like right now. It's Larkin, Raymond, and Bertuzzi, Kopp, Vrana, and Perron, Kubalik, Suter, and Zadina. That's a solid top 9. And then Adam Ernie, Michael Rasmussen, and Oscar Sundquist. And I think Oscar Sundquist is a little bit better than a 4th line forward. Pius Suter, too, was great with Chicago. Signed, like a little bit of a show me deal with Steve Yzerman last offseason. Zadina really hasn't come into his own, but he's still 22 years old. Yeah, he was drafted number 3, number 4 in the draft, but he's still 22. So
Who's Zadina?
Yeah, Zadina.
6th overall.
6th overall.
The only reason I remember that
A little bit off.
The only reason I remember that off the top of my head is because Quinn Hughes went with the next pick.
Okay. Yeah, round 1.
And just side note, Brian Burke was telling the story when Zadina got drafted that he was basically told the night before Detroit was drafting a defenseman, then they didn't. And he was just like, he was shocked on draft day. But could you just imagine if they did? That'd be one fucking hell of a defensive core.
It certainly would, but even without that hypothetical defenseman that they would have drafted in lieu of him, still I think their core is looking really good for years to come. And look, just to address the goaltending real quick, I don't love Nedeljkovic. I liked him in Carolina. I thought he struggled a little bit out of the gate with Detroit. But Ville Husso, all you can ask for a young team is a 1A, 1B who can win and steal your games. And Husso and Nedeljkovic do that. And at 27 years old, $4.75 million cap hit for what? The next 4 years for Ville Husso? I don't think that's a terrible contract.
No, dude, Yzerman always has a plan. Detroit is coming soon. They're going to be a little bit behind Ottawa, though, because I think Ottawa, they just made the moves that are going to really accelerate this team to the next level. But before we move on to another team, also highlight of the draft, I forgot, when Emily Kaplan was talking to Steve Yzerman and asked him, so you're in your 3rd year as general manager. How far along do you think the rebuild is? And Steve Yzerman said, well, I think we're in the 3rd year of the rebuild because it's my 3rd year of the general manager. Completely shut her down. He was taking no bullshit. It's like, I'm not giving you any information as to what we're doing. Good old Yzerman.
I thought that was great, and I love Emily Kaplan, and I thought that was great. So
that was one of the highlights of the draft for me too.